More records on Wall Street. It's unbelievable. After a tax reform bill cleared another hurdle in the Senate yesterday, and we got reassuring comments from Fed Chair nominee Jerome Powell. Let's talk about it. We have Brian Brenberg, chair of the program in business and finance at the King's College in Manhattan, and Mark Hamrick, senior economic analyst at bankrate.com. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good to be here.
Good morning.
Mark, let me begin with you. It seemed like investors were more reassured over what happened with taxes than the spending bill yesterday. So, is tax reform baked into the market?
Oh, I think so. And obviously investors are sort of only pricing in good news these days. And there's been a lot of good news out there. Corporate profits doing just fine. We know that GDP's on a run here, may have 3 straight quarters of 3% plus. I believe we have a revision due for the most recent quarter due later this morning. Yeah, I think it's absolutely baked in. But that doesn't mean this rally's over. I think there's a lot of strength yet to come.
So should we we're 163 points away, Mark, from Dow 24,000. Will we get there on Friday? And what happens if we do get by the end of the year a real bill on tax reform?
Well, I'm not one to predict the market on a day-to-day basis, much less on a week-to-week.
But if you had to.
Well, if I had to, I don't think there's anything in the near term that needs to interrupt the rally. But this market has come a long way, 20% in 2017. So to say it's not due for a timeout would be really folly at this point.
Yeah. Brian, I wanted to ask you about this. There's concern that the tax cuts, that yes, they might boost the economy, get GDP growing, and maybe not do enough to cut the deficit. So some senators are suggesting a trigger to raise taxes later on if we're not seeing the economic growth that we expect. Is that a good idea, to potentially raise taxes at a later date?
Well, from a policy perspective, I think it's a terrible idea to say if the economy changes 6 years from now, we're going to create a tax increase for the American people. The whole point of this bill is to cut taxes. If you have something looming out there in the future, then it calls all of that into question. Now, you know why they're doing it. They're doing it because you have senators like Corker and Flake and others who say we're concerned about deficits. But this kind of policy measure, if you really were firm with it, could undercut the benefit of this tax cut. I think what happens here at the end of the day is they put some provision in, but they water it down enough to the point where people look at it and say there's really no way Congress is going to come back in 6 years and raise tax rates. Again, because if you do that, then corporations, then investors start saying, well, my tax is going to go back up in 5 years. And if that's the case, I'm not sure I want to make a long-term investment right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Mark, do you expect to see any details on what taxes would rise in 5 years' time? Because, look, if you're cutting taxes on businesses and then raising them at a later date, I can see businesses, big and small, saying, you know what, the heck with this. We're not going to make that investment because we still don't know what the rules of the game are going to be in the long term.
Well, yeah, senators need to know what they're voting on, and if the House, whether it goes to sort of conference committee or the House votes on the would-be Senate-approved bill, obviously those details are going to need to be known. But let's remember the reason why this provision has been brought up in the first place is there's a real fear that this bill doesn't effectively deliver the goods for the economy. So either you believe it's going to happen or you don't. And if you think that those provisions are going to kick in, then essentially you're perpetuating a false argument.
I have 15 seconds left here, Brian. I'm going to give it to you. So the president is in Missouri today. He's talking tax reform. The Democratic senator there, Claire McCaskill, is up for re-election. Do you think she or any other Democrat will get on board here with tax reform?
I don't. I really don't think they're going to. I think Republicans are going to get this passed. The differences now are pretty small. The momentum is big. You saw the stock market yesterday. That was a stunning run for the stock market. Clearly, they believe this is going to get done. The differences are small enough. So he's going to put some pressure on McCaskill, others, but I think this is going to be a party line vote when it comes down to it.
And we'll see if we can get Dow 24,000 by Friday. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thanks so much.